Tell them, like I said.
So, all joking aside, Exo-Man has put together some really great motivational videos. Calls upon his past experiences growing up really poor and without much guidance, and organizes the thoughts, puts them all together, tells you, basically kind of helps you along and gives you something that you can take away and use in your life and help yourself.
How's that for a shout out? Thank you, Farm
So
Girl.
you should check it out. It's good stuff, really good stuff. So here's a good one. Check it out and give us a thumbs up, and also leave a comment if you'd like, and just see what you think.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Have a great day, everyone.
Hi everyone, it's Exo-Man. I got a text from my daughter today. My wife and I got a text from her, and she's having a great time. She is traveling. She's 25 now, 26 now, and she's traveling a lot. She's working a lot. She works very hard, and she's able to travel. And she had a gripe today, and that was, here she is having a great time. She shared a couple of pictures on Facebook, and she's getting a lot of guilt, or some guilt, from friends who aren't traveling and doing the things that she's doing. And it's sad. It's just it's kind of a letdown to have people do that to you and behave in that way. And that's what I want to talk about. The difference between people who do and have things and the wherewithal to do things, fun things, and the people that don't, and what the difference is between those people. Now, I feel uniquely qualified to delve into this because I myself have been in both places in my lifetime. When I was a child, I remember, living in an old, dark mobile home with no power, afraid of what my father might do to my family if he found us, and just kind of living like on the run and with nothing and in poverty. And I was subject to my mother's belief system. I lived with my mother, and she alone was raising the three of us boys. And I was a subject, we all were, to her belief system. And what I've come to understand that my mother did was she adopted a failure-oriented belief system. And I would, in later years, eschew that. I rejected that way of life, and it was very difficult to make that turnabout in my life. It's very difficult to grow up under in that household where there is that belief system and change it, but we can. I mean, it's just a matter of belief and what you want and what you're willing to go after. So I myself eschewed my mother's belief system, and I believed that I could have whatever I wanted if I put my mind to it. So I've learned that researchers have studied in depth something called, learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. Look that up. I believe they did a study using canine. They would speak of the devil. They would put a dog in a room and put a button and teach the dog to push the button, and when it did, a treat would come out of the chute, and the dog learned to push the button. And then they would do this for a while, and then they would stop the treat dispensing. After this had become a pattern of the dog pushing the button and getting the reward, they stopped the delivery of the treat. The dog pressed the button a couple of times and no treat. So then the dog learned that he was helpless to get a treat. He tried to get a treat and the treat wouldn't come. So what did the dog do? The dog learned that he was helpless. So the dog gave up, and the animal would no longer push the button. They then threw another switch and made it so a treat would be delivered every time the button was pushed. But guess what? The dog that had learned helplessness would no longer press the button. It wouldn't try. It simply wouldn't try because it had recognized failure. It had learned that when it pushed the button, nothing happened. What buttons are you pushing? How hard do you push? How hard do you try? Sometimes you get no reward, sometimes you do, and there's a lot to be said for sticking to it, you know, for persistence. So as a child, I learned that my situation was quite hopeless. But I resolved to growing up and learning to help myself. And I read books, and I associated with positive people. I didn't associate with people like my mother and my father. I loved my mother, I feared my father, and I considered them both failures. And in so doing, I disassociated myself with that lifestyle and that negativity. They were both very negative people. My mother was beautiful in many ways, but she was not a positive person. She couldn't bring herself to believe that she could do anything she wanted. She couldn't seize the power. So my daughter and my son have grown up in a household where they've been taught from the start that they can do, they can achieve whatever they set their mind to. And so when I was a kid, you know, living in those dark dwellings and dark places, I truly envied people like my kids. But I knew one day I would be able to have what they have. I would be able to travel. I would be able to eat in fine restaurants and just do what I want to do, essentially. And so the discussion becomes, who are you? What are you doing? Are you the jealous person who's trying to guilt and make people feel bad for having? Or do you believe it's the haves and have-nots? Or do you believe that we're all just people and we all just have belief systems, and that some of us believe that we can do whatever we want to do? Now, of course there are limitations. Of course there are people who are in wheelchairs without the use of their limbs. There are people who navigate this world with a chin or their nose on a button. There are people that can't even do those things. But some of them do more than most. Some of them accomplish more than most of us. It's just belief. It's all belief. And I learned by reading great authors that that's what it is. It's all about our intention and our belief. And it's garbage in, garbage out. If you buy the garbage, you spew the garbage. And if you associate with garbage, you become garbage. There's just so much to that. It's so much. This is the making of your reality. This is the writing of your story. So if you see one of your friends post something fabulous on Facebook, you need to, or wherever, just if you see someone you know or associate with having a wonderful time, it's hard sometimes to be joyful for those people. It's hard not to envy them. But I say turn that envy into ambition. Picture yourself. Start picturing yourself in those situations. in those places where you want to be. Imagine it, picture it, believe it, and then slowly fade out the hate and jealousy of other people who are there. As long as you harbor the illness, the ill feelings, the jealousy, you're you're cheating yourself, because that just becomes learned helplessness. You're helpless while you believe other people are out having a great time and doing things that you could never afford to do. You're lying to yourself. What are your limitations? Is it your ethnicity? Is it your gender? Is it your sexuality? Is it your weaknesses? Or are those just crutches? Or are those the things you use to enable yourself to say, well, of course I can't do it because of X or because of Y? Those are crutches. Drop your crutches. All of those people do all of the things that you want to do and you wish you could do. It's just a matter of belief. We create our own reality. We hear that all the time. We hear it in many different ways, but some of us just fail to believe it. We don't believe it, and that's it. It's all about belief. You write your own story. I was a kid and I had, as I've said many times, I went to 12 different schools before high school, primary schools, middle schools, elementary, and then I went to months of high school, and my mother said, hey, if you don't get an education, you're going to be digging ditches. I've said before, at the same time, she was cashing my paychecks to pay rent. A lot of times my mother didn't have a job. Me and one of my brothers had a job, and we paid rent and bought food. So I got myself into this situation where I could have easily believed, and I guess I did, that I couldn't do anything. I was helpless. I bought into that for a time. And these were my limitations, and then I just slowly started learning, wait a minute now, wait a minute. This is, I go to sleep at night and I dream. Why can't I dream when I'm awake? Why can't I imagine, that all seems so real when I'm dreaming. Why not when I'm awake? Why don't I just create my own world? Maybe it all is a dream anyway, and maybe we just get to push the buttons and decide where to go. Think of it that way. Be who you want to be by being the person you want to be, if you want to live your life in just a stagnant state, and you want to live in an apartment all of your life and concern yourself with getting tattoos and piercings and body jewelry and playing Xbox and being drunk or stoned all the time, or whatever your pastimes are, if you want to be those things, you can be those things, and you are those things. If you want to elevate yourself, and I'm not saying that it's bad to get to smoke pot or to drink. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying, what do you want out of life? What are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up getting the full back tattoo and maybe spend that money on a community college course or something to further you in something that you think you would be good at or inclined to do anyway, or like to do? Spend that money, same amount of money that you spend a year on cigarettes, maybe travel to Europe, or travel to, I don't know, Arizona or the Grand Canyon or so. Do something, get out, learn, associate, go and associate with people who you think are better people. Do something. What are your limitations? What are you waiting for? Why are you trying to make other people feel bad? Are we doing that? Are we trying to make other people feel bad because they're where we want to be, while we're, meantime, doing nothing to get to where we want to be? You got to take the first step. My daughter was telling me, she says she knows a lot of these people that try to make her feel guilty, or people that have desires and dreams, but they talk about the things they want to do with their lives and they never take the first step. And so she should feel guilty for doing what she wanted to do. My kid got out of our house. I packed her moving van with her when she was 18. and she left and went to a city far away. She went to school for a year and learned to do hair. She found something she would be good at, and she believed in herself. I taught her belief in herself. We taught her belief in herself, but she could have taught herself that same belief. You can teach yourself that belief. I had to foster that in myself. I had to become my own foster father. You can do that. You can be your own spiritual guide. You can push yourself to your destination. You can push yourself to be your best and be successful. You can own a business. You can become the president. You truly can, if you set your mind to it. Okay, maybe have realistic goals and set some realistic goals, but start accomplishing things, and what you'll do is set up a pattern. You know, like the dog that presses the button and gets the treat. Do some easy exercises. Accomplish some things that you know you can accomplish. And then you know that, plan to deal with failure. Don't plan on having failure, but plan to be able to deal with it. We're all going to fail. I have failed so many times in my life. Over and over and over and over and over I have failed with my endeavors and small businesses and you know, early in my life in relationships and things like that. But what I chose to believe in were my successes. What I chose to let pattern my life were my successes. And it was simply because I wanted to be successful. So I believed in my successes and not my failures. It really and truly is that simple. And it is so urgent that you change your mind and your heart so that you believe this. Believe in yourself and stop with the foolishness. Stop with the crutches. Drop the crutches. People won't tell you that you seem like a damn fool. They won't tell you, but I will. You seem like a damn fool when you hold onto your crutches and your things that make you feel comfortable in your failure. You're not a failure. You're a success waiting to happen. The ignition for that success is your just believing it. And you're just putting your first foot out there and getting started with it. What are you going to do today? Are you going to mope? Are you going to be angry? Are you going to be jealous? Are you going to just open your social networking to be pissed off at other people who are going places and say, well, that person got a lucky break. Well, that person is rich. Well, that person is doing it because of the color of their skin. Well, that person's making it because of their gender. Stop with the bullshit. That's garbage. You're eating garbage. You are nourishing yourself on garbage beliefs. Nourish yourself with something different, okay? You know, a maggot feasting on a carcass can't become a butterfly because the rotting carcass is not the nectar that it needs for that metamorphosis. You see what I'm saying? Surround yourself with good people. If you can read a word, read a damn book. You know, read Scott Peck, you know, The Road Less Traveled. I read an author named Wayne Dyer when I was a young man, and those kind of things will change your life. If you can read a word, read 2 words, read 3 words, read a sentence, read a paragraph, read a chapter, just do it. I was dyslexic, self-diagnosed. I transpose words and numbers. I do it all the time. When I write, I'll put the words in the wrong place, and I'll put the letters in the wrong place. I had great trouble reading, but I had to figure out a way that I could read, that I could just make it work. I had to figure out a way to make it work and get through books. And if you can't read a word, learn to read. You know, there's not that many people in the modern world who I'm reaching out to right now who can't read. So read a damn book. Stop reading. And if you're reading fiction, put the fiction away for a while and read some realities. Read some autobiographies or biographies or self-help books or anything. Or, you know, read something to help you pick up a vocation or something. I'm just saying that the world is your oyster. If you believe it, you can achieve it. And those words are not cliche, they're profound. Okay, so that's the gist of what I wanted to say. Just stop projecting and hating and envying, and just use that energy for good. Harness that energy and do something with it. It takes energy to be jealous and to be down on yourself and to just stay in the dumps like that. It takes a lot of energy to have ongoing feuds with people, and just separate yourself from those people. Be they friends or family. I've separated myself from all of my family. Parents and siblings. Had to. They were toxic. So I found a girl when I was a young man, and she was my Mount Everest. I said, that will be my wife. She's the best person I've ever met. I just knew it when I met her. I said, and I want to associate with her, and I want to be with her, and we became friends. And that helped me to elevate myself and to believe in myself, and that was a positive influence in my life. You can do that. We can all do that. We can all meet better people and become better people. So that's really what I wanted to say, is just go forward and leave behind all the negativity and silliness, and live your dreams. All right? Thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time, and I wish you the very best.